Hey guys. So I am super excited about today and what I'm talking about. If you don't know, basically, I do a lot of spiritual shadow work and I like to share my experiences. And I believe that we learn the best from hearing someone else's real experience and how it worked for them. So, yeah, I'm just so excited to be sharing this with you guys today. A little bit nervous because sometimes with spiritual shadow work, it is really about taking back your power and bringing things that are hidden from your subconscious mind to the light. Okay. And not only that, but it's about taking responsibility for your life and um, being open and honest with the people around you. And I just love doing this because I feel that so many people can learn and heal from my experiences. So today we're talking about really just things in my life that have been extremely abusive and me hiding those things away out of shame, right? So, why would anyone like hide things? Because you don't want other people to think badly of you. But that is a backwards way of really being honest and not being who you are. So, I want to go back a little bit and talk about a couple of my experiences where I have not been open and honest and um, really just expose that for my own healing and for other people. So, uh, gosh, I don't even know where to start. This was probably about 9 years ago, I would say. And I was involved in a relationship, and I had come to the decision that the relationship could no longer go forward. And so it was really funny because I had no idea. Um, anyway, okay, so let me just share. So I asked this person to please leave, and that's when things kind of hit the fan. And I had known that things were not good in the relationship because, um, there was a lot of control going on one end. And, when I spoke up about my needs, really what I needed from the relationship was for him to start working and doing something to contribute anything. That didn't mean necessarily a job, it just meant anything. That wasn't taken well. So, it really got pretty ugly. And I'm going to be pretty open with this because I think it's so important, especially anyone who may be going through a situation like this, because the fear of getting out of a relationship like this um, is what will kill you. Like, that's what this whole thing has been about for me for so long. And so, um, at that point, he basically told me there was no way he was ever leaving, and he was going to make my life a living hell every single day, no matter what. Um, and he did that. And so I had tried to figure out ways to get out of the relationship. And I really felt so stuck and in fear all the time. Things started getting really bad. And of course, he wasn't doing anything as far as work. And I was overexhausted from working two jobs. I had two kids, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And my whole body just started to shut down, and I started to get really sick all the time. And so I called the police one day and I said, "Hey, listen, here's my situation. I want this person to leave my house. I pay the rent. I'm the one on the lease. I don't know what to do. And they said, well, you could serve him a 30-day notice. And if he doesn't comply to that, we can enforce it after 30 days. So I thought, okay, great. So I handed him the notice, and he looked at it and laughed and kind of threw it away. And I went to the grocery store. And when I came back, he had a couple of his family members there. And he had told them a whole huge, elaborate lies. Because it was funny, right? When I pulled up, I saw one of the family members, and she was like, hey, what's going on? And I literally had no idea. I was like, what's going on? And, she was like, well, I heard there was a lot of fighting going on, and maybe, I think it's best if we take the kids. And when I walked into my house, I saw, mind you, I'd been at the grocery store getting a movie for my kids. So when I came back, I saw like my kids' bags packed, and his family was there, and I panicked, and I just started freaking out and yelling. And of course, I reacted to that, and it turned into a bad situation where the police were called, and they allowed him to leave with my kids. And I just felt so completely lost and terrified, because the whole thing was, he had said to them that before that, I'd been freaking out, and we'd been fighting and all this nonsense, that I was at the grocery store the entire time. And when I got back, and that had all, like, it was just all these lies and stuff, I honestly didn't know what to do. So fast forward a little bit, finally was able to, he finally left because I was able to get a restraining order. And the last couple things that he had said to me was, I'm going to take the kids away from you. I'm going to find a way, somehow. My family has a ton of money, and I'm going to take the kids. And I think that was probably the moment where I fell into this fear of losing my kids. And everything from that point forward became about fear of losing my kids, and really responding or not responding from that place. And, I share this with you because, I want to get into a little bit more about what happened, but I share this because me hiding from that fear, or me reacting, trying to get people to notice what was going on, both put me more, like, sunk me down into a pit. And so I finally was able to get a restraining order. And like I said, he had told me, I'm going to find a way to take the kids from you. But not only that, he had told me that if I ever had a relationship, he's going to physically harm me. Another relationship. If I ever had someone around his kids, that was it. And he was going to make sure that that did not happen at all costs. So I purposefully did not have a relationship for the next few years because I was afraid. And like I said, I had I didn't have the restraining order yet. Things were pretty calm. Okay. And I finally decided, you know what? I think it's time for me to start dating. And it had been a few years. So I was like, okay, that fear has gone away. And so I started dating, and he found out about that. And it was just terrorizing from that moment forward. It was multiple phone calls. You're never allowed to have my kids around another man. And I really did like this person quite a bit. So I started kind of hiding things out of fear. because as soon as he found out anything, it was like this retribution, would come after me. And so I started hiding a lot out of fear. And especially because my ex started stalking myself and my new boyfriend. And it got really scary. He found out where my new boyfriend worked. He found out where he lived. He started threatening my new boyfriend's child. And that's when the boyfriend that I had ended it with me. And I was so angry. I was so bitter and angry, kind of at both of them, because I was like, this is my life. What the hell? This is my life. How are you just going to threaten someone and they leave? And then what? Like, how does that work? And I started fighting. I really started fighting. And it was this point that I went and filed for a restraining order right after that, because that was very intense and scary. And the restraining order was granted, and then he had filed for custody. So it went into this whole custody battle. That's not the point. So the point is that I was already in severe panic mode and fear, right? Sorry, guys, 1 second. Okay, I'm just checking to make sure you guys can hear me. It looks good. Okay, so, okay, so I was in fear at that point, and I started really finding that the more that I hid things from people, the easier my life got because of this abuse. And I just want to say, like, it was my choice to do that. And fear will put you in a place where you are hiding who you are because you're afraid of how other people will respond or react. That's no place, that's like no way how to live, because that was severe trauma to me. And I really started living my life hiding. Okay. So fast forward a little bit, and a situation I had rented a house, and I had lived there for quite a few years. And my neighbor started coming over to be with my kids quite a bit. And he was a scooter rider, and he would he was teaching them how to scooter. So, I was really afraid of my ex finding out about my friend relationship with my neighbor, because it was just something that had traumatized me so much with the previous relationship that I had been in, because of everything that had happened. And, out of a lot of that fear, like, it's crazy because I'm feeling it right now, and I'm just like, oh my God, and that's not even my life anymore. But I want to share this for my healing, because it's something that I've come up against, where it's like, I need to be open and honest in where I am with a lot of people. And so the relationship with my neighbor had gotten a little bit more serious, and he is a lot younger than me. So that was one of the things that I was most afraid of. And one of I remember going to do a drop off at a police station with my kids, and my neighbor was with me because I wasn't afraid. I was just like, it wasn't a big deal. And again, he took that and blew it up into crazy things. And, he just started threatening me with he was going to call the cops on me. He knew that we weren't just friends. He was going to have the police, intervene and take my kids from me again. And this is where this trauma started coming in again. Okay. So I really, I'm just telling you guys, like, I don't know where this behavior comes from. Like, I really don't understand where this behavior comes from. And from me, like, hiding things out of fear really became normal for me. And it got really, really scary. So I really just started, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. Okay, so where was I? Back to when people are threatening you, and I chose to let that affect my life in such a way. And it's hard not to, right? Like, it's really hard not to, especially when those things were reality. Like, and I just got to the point where I was so tired of it. I was like, I'm just done. Like, I really don't care what you do to me anymore because I'm just done. However, I didn't tell people what was really going on. And I kind of, I don't know what I want to say right now. Like, I just let that fear take over my life. And I let it affect tons of my relationships. And, I'm done with that. And it's so important for me now, when you're doing this kind of inner work, inner healing on yourself, it's so important to start taking responsibility for everything that you've done in your life. And not only taking responsibility, but bringing forth the things where you have felt guilty or shameful for. And that's what I'm really working on right now. And this is really one of them that has been really so hard for me. But like I said, I chose to bow down to that fear, and my life really started to fall apart. And instead, like, I should have just stopped all contact whatsoever. I take responsibility for that 100%. My issues were I still allowed contact because I thought that, wow, this is where I'm totally like still shocked. I believed that it was better to allow my kid's father to have contact with my kids than to stand up for myself and no longer let that abuse occur. And so I allowed it to happen. I allowed myself to continue to go down because I thought, well, at least there's some sort of communication there. And it took a few years of me allowing emotional abuse to my kids. And that is, he would constantly call and tell them he was going to pick them up the next day or take them out or buy them this or do that or call them again on this certain day, and he wouldn't do it. And I didn't know that that was emotional abuse to my kids. I noticed their behavior was crying all the time, so sad. They couldn't get it out of their heads. It was like obsessive thinking, um, just negative, just down on life. But I thought it was better to have that relationship in their life than for me to stop contact. And unfortunately, it took me a couple years to realize that that was not true and that that needed to stop. And so I finally stopped allowing that behavior, and our lives have gotten better, a lot better. But what I want to say is that I had to be really firm and speak my needs and what was important to me. Um, so I want to kind of go back a little bit and um, talk about the relationship with my neighbor in regards to this, because, you know, I want to, you know, he had been threatening me that he was going to call the cops on me about this relationship multiple times. And I just hid from the whole thing. And I tried to run from the situation. And it didn't matter what the truth was. He was going to do that to me regardless. Okay. And so he did eventually call the cops. And there was a big investigation that went on into that. And I want to say that I had moved to Washington, and I got a phone call from this police investigator and investigating the relationship because we had such a wide age difference. And you know what? I was 100% honest about why I was even, that phone call even had come in. And I said, he's been threatening to do this to me for years. And I've had domestic violence restraining orders against him. And, you know, I just think it's more harassment. And that's exactly what I said, because that was the 100% truth. It had nothing to do with anything else other than to hurt me, take me down, pull me under. And I was truthful about that. And the investigation was dropped. So I still was in a relationship with my neighbor, and I want to fully take responsibility for not being truthful to people about that relationship. And that is exactly what I'm talking about here, okay? Because I've been in such fear for so long over people threatening me and trying to, I don't even know what it is, honestly, but I'm going to own my part of the whole thing. And my part of the whole thing was that when people asked me, you know, honestly, what was going on with the relationship, I wasn't honest and open with them. And these relationships in my life right now have ended, but I want to bring this out so that people, just so, you know, there's some learning around it and what spiritual shadow work really is. And so, you know, it has been really difficult for me to come to this. And I want to say, like, if I was not open and honest, I apologize. And I take 100% responsibility for that, because I was in such fear of, these things weren't paranoia. Like, these people would threaten me and they would actually do them. I just had another incident happen where, again, I was threatened and told that I was going to be sent to jail. And I had CPS called on me with a whole bunch of just lies. And I think it was the third time that I've had that happen. And if the police came out, a full-fledged investigation that I was a child abuser again. And you know what? This time was really different. This just happened a couple months ago. And I knew exactly who it was. There's no question about it. Like, I knew who it was. And I just stood there and I told him the same thing. I said, this has been going on for a while. And it's really sad because, you know, I just have to sit through these things. But at the end of the day, here's what I want to say, because there may be people that are dealing with this too. At the end of the day, nothing happened to me because I stood in my truth. I did not overreact. And the last couple times, I have not let it take me down emotionally. The first couple times that this stuff happened, I started letting it take me down emotionally to where they knew they were affecting me. Okay. And now I'm not letting it affect my life anymore. But I need to bring it out because I need to be not hiding and owning my responsibility of it, which is that I wasn't 100% truthful and I was hiding out of fear of what would happen to me. And it's crazy what this trauma does to you. I've been doing a lot of trauma work, and how it makes you see the world as your enemy and every single human being as an enemy. Now, I did have two people in my life that are no longer in my life that really were doing things to me behind the scenes and crazy stuff to try to hurt me, mostly calling the police on me, calling CPS on me, all this stuff. But because it came from a place of just trying to hurt and not from a place of truly, the intention wasn't right? None of it panned out. And that's what I'm saying. The last couple times I have not let it take me down emotionally. And, you know, it's about taking back your power, but also recognizing your responsibility in it. And that I didn't know how to speak my needs and respond properly. And so I did just as much damage because I hid out of fear and I kind of ran from a lot of these situations. And isn't that the response is fight, flight, or freeze? Oh my gosh, I was doing that like crazy. Because it is really scary when you have people who say, you know, I'm going to come up with any reason that I can to call the police on you and take you away. And they did. But I stood in truth and exactly what was going on. And like I said, none of it came about. But it is my time to start speaking about these things, which is taking back my power, right? So, you know, and I want to say, like, the relationship that I had with my neighbor at the time was an unconventional relationship because of our age difference. And I will tell you, just that alone scared me half to death. And I was the first one to not be okay with that. I was like, yeah, that's not okay. And it took me a really long time to come to terms with what was a healthy relationship and what was an abusive relationship. I had no idea what the truth was. And my neighbor truly showed me what a healthy relationship is. And the craziest thing is that, well, we're married now, but um, at first I thought that he was the one who was this unhealthy thing, because I had been so addicted to fear and hiding my truth. And honestly, I didn't know what a healthy relationship even was. What does that mean? You know? And so I started seeing the difference. And here's what, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a long journey, I'll tell you. Peace and love to you too. It's been a really long journey. Pretty much 9 years in the making. But the difference is this, and I'm going to say two things. So, the day that my neighbor started coming over and being there for my kids every single day was the day that he became their father. Because since that day, he has been there for them. He has been their support for them. He has taken on all kinds of stuff from the kids, right? And he has just still stayed strong through all of that. But not only that, it was incredible to me. Like, when he tells them he's going to do things, he does things with them. And that's how I started to see the difference in the emotional abuse, and it doesn't matter who your biological father is, but the person that is there for you every single day, day in and day out, that's who the true dad is, right? But we put these labels on things, and then we expect like that we're entitled or something to the kids just because of something. And it's like, no, you're not. Like, no, you're not. This is like, the abuse that goes on does not mean you get to do this to them ever again. But yet, this other relationship is so unconventional, and like, he's an amazing father. And I don't know, like, that was really hard for me to see, but I had to experience it through life experience to really understand, because we can hear so much about what trauma is, what healthy relationships are, how to have healthy relationships. But if you don't experience, because I couldn't see through all of because I did not have healthy relationships growing up. I had an absent father. I had no idea. My mom worked and was gone all the time. I had no stability in childhood, and I had no idea how to treat people. I turned to becoming more of a mother when I was a kid to my little sister, because I thought that that's how she needed some structure. But what about me, right? But I didn't care about me. I was more, trying to just deal with that. But that was never my job. And so that became an extremely toxic relationship, right? Because of that. And it's like, so I couldn't see what truly was a healthy relationship. And I think what's crazy is that so many of us can't see really what that is until we experience something different. And the difference at first seems super scary because this relationship was not socially acceptable. And to me, that was more scary than seeing the truth of like that he always does what he says he's going to do, and he shows up and he supports them and he takes them and does things with them, and he's just present with them. And I couldn't see that, through all this other stuff. And it's really crazy what fear will kind of put you into. And but that's what is so important right now. Okay, is like speaking your truth. And the shadow work for me has been being able to come out and bring the things that I feel are shameful to the light, to open communication, to speaking it out. And now, I am married to that person, and it's like I am totally taking responsibility for all of the hiding and stuff that I felt like I needed to hide from people. And the most crazy thing is that everybody supports us. And here's the big lesson through all of this, right? The biggest lesson. Even if it feels fearful, be open and honest in your relationships with people, because now, not if you're open and honest and then they take that information and use it against you, because that's where you need to cut that relationship off. That's a relationship that I had that was not okay and made me fearful just as much to be able to speak who I am and own it, right? So not that, but when you are open and honest and those people that do support you and are there for you, you'll know. And that is the coolest thing. Is I was so afraid of what so many people would think that I hid so much, and they all support us. So my main thing is if I wasn't honest and open and about that, I take responsibility for that, and I apologize for not taking responsibility and for not bowing down to fear, So it's really important, especially with shadow work, that anything where you feel there is shame, that is just in you. And people know that. And the ones that aren't for you will use that against you. And that puts you in this place of fight, flight, or freeze, instead of being able to be your most unique, amazing self. And that's what I'm just bringing forth more and more, is my unique, amazing self. And I couldn't be more proud of myself for the inner work that I've done and bringing out things that I have felt were not socially acceptable to the light. Because my relationship right now is not socially acceptable. There's a lot of people that are in relationships that aren't socially acceptable who probably understand what I'm saying right now, is that when there is a healthy connection and a relationship, it really doesn't matter what's acceptable to other people. And being afraid to be yourself because of what other people may think of you, will drag you down to a pit of hell. And I know, because I was there. And being afraid of what other people may do to you out of that fear. And like, we cannot control what other people do. But I could have controlled bringing these things that I thought were shameful out to people, regardless of what they thought. Right? Because I lost parts of myself when I hid in fear. And that's what I'm no longer doing. And I don't care what it takes for me to get those pieces of myself back. Like, I'm going to stand in my integrity and who I am and saying, you know what, here's who I am. It doesn't, you like me or you don't. And that's okay. And the people who want to try to continue to harm me in some way, shape, or form, you can't do that anymore, because you have no power over what I bring to the light. It's like, if you are hiding things, that's why I'm saying people will take those things and use them against you, when if you just bring them out, you claim the power over them and they can't be used against you ever again. It's like you take your power back. So, yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing day. I think that's all I really need to say about it. Doing this kind of work is so important right now, because you guys see what's going on out there in the world. It's just beyond. And people are starting to see so much hypocrisy in what we have been told as a society, and how we have grown up under this, like, basically in a box of untruths, is what I want to say. Right? So, but like, the most important thing is the system and the outside world, it's not our enemy. Okay? We can't change the system, but we can start seeing the truth of what takes our power away, what is abusive in our relationship, what really harms you, and bringing that out, because that will change so much what's going on in the world. And we don't even realize that just healing ourselves is healing the world. We can't fight, we can't run from it, and we can't sit and freeze from it. But what can you take control over? You can take control over your stuff, your life, what is important to you. And for me, it is loving myself so much that it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, but I get to be my unique self. I don't need to hide who I am. And yeah, it's a really beautiful thing to be in that place. So I hope that, if you are really wanting to heal your things that are holding you back, this may help you in some way, shape, or form to break out of your comfort zone. And I do want to say, though, don't do anything out of, like, if you are in a very abusive relationship, like I was, like, again, you can't fight, you can't do that thing. But if you are in a dangerous situation, make sure you take care of yourself and just get out of that relationship the best way for you, that keeps you safe and gets you to a place where you can heal from that, right? So don't put yourself in danger, because that danger is very real. And having to get out of these situations takes time, and your persistence and loving yourself so much to say that I'm worth more than this. I'm valuable, and I'm worthy of someone who treats me well. So just so there's a disclaimer there, because there is danger in that, and it is, but nothing to be feared. Just take steps to free yourself and be safe. So I hope this has helped you guys. I'm gonna jump off, and I wish you guys a great day, and I'll be back to share more of my experiences when they kind of come up. So have a great day. I'll see you guys later. Bye.